Today we're joined by Tracey Sundkvist, a passionate growth guru who empowers business owners to break through barriers and embrace their true potential. With a rich background in psychology and a knack for blending personal development with business strategy, Tracey brings a unique perspective to the entrepreneurial journey. Let's dive into Tracey's world and discover the wisdom that has guided her along. Tell us who you are and what's your favorite quote is.
Absolutely. My name is Tracey. I'm a consultant and a coach. I partner with clients so that they can grow stronger, they can scale faster, they can delight their customers, and they can make more money. The quote that I wanted to talk about today was, if you have to ask yourself the question, the answer is always no.
Okay.
Yeah, that's like totally me.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. The funny thing is, I went through the form you filled, right? And I was like,
Mhm.
okay. I was looking at the quote and I was like, you know how you look at the quote with the side of your eye and like she has a lot of explaining to do.
Isn't it supposed to be that way?
Yeah.
Of course, because I'm a consultant and a coach, the consultant is all about telling, but a coach is all about asking questions and helping the person that you're coaching get more insight into their thinking. But I mean, this thing that I really ran my life from came way before I was a coach, way before I was a consultant. Really just was through my experience, something that I started noticing, and it wasn't just for me, it was for family members, it was for people that I worked with. And it always boiled down to the fact in that if they were asking yes or no questions, should I launch a podcast? Should I look for another job? Should I, go and, redesign my style? Should I dump my boyfriend and find somebody else? No matter what question I was asking, if I was asking it, that already gave me my answer in part, and that was no. Because when we know what we want to do, we don't ask ourselves a question.
Wow.
Yeah.
When did you come to this realization of this quote?
Probably when I was about 3 months old.
3
And that's an
months.
absolute lie. That's a total lie.
Wow. I was
No,
like,
I think, listen, no, for the first 30 years of my life, I just coasted along. I really did not know up from down. Really, ignorance was absolute bliss. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't have any answers at that stage. And then I got the opportunity to change careers from finance. So I was in the finance world, and then I got into recruitment. Of course, in recruitment, it's all about understanding other people. How do you identify talent? How do they talk? How do they reason? How do they respond to questions? And that was really when I started digging into the power of questions. But yeah, if you're asking yourself the question, the answer is always no. That was something that happened before that. It could have informed my path a little in understanding the value of questions in the first place.
When did you say came to the realization again?
I'm sorry, when did I come to the realization of this mantra for myself?
Yeah, like the time, the
Yeah.
when. Is it 18 years ago?
Oh, goodness. No, you want to know how old I am?
No.
I was about 25. 20. Oh my gosh, no, I can tell you how old I was, but if I have to calculate, I would need to take a calculator out. It was that long ago. Yeah, probably 22, 23 years ago.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
wow, you put me on the tight spot there. Wow. I'm glad I escaped that one. Yeah.
You're going to get some broad shoulders, I promise you.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. If you have to ask yourself the question, the answer is no. Okay.
Always no.
Okay. Could you give
Well,
us
if you think about it, right, when you're asking, you don't know. I mean, the whole reason why you ask a question, especially a yes-no question, is because you want to know, should you? But the fact is, we never ever question when we're sure of something. When we're sure of something, we just do it. We don't ask. So when we're asking, what's going on for me behind having to ask the question is there's something happening in either my subconscious or something that I'm not fully aware of that is preventing me from deciding, yes, I'm going to do this, or no, I'm not going to do this. And sometimes, well, most of the time, we're not consciously aware of what's going on there, because if we were, we would solve whatever problem we were looking at. When you're asking a question, you need to understand that the answer is no.
Let's take a quick pause. If you're enjoying this conversation and want more thought-provoking ideas straight to your inbox, join the Relatable Wisdom email list. It's free, quick, and filled with bite-sized insights, inspiring quotes, and behind-the-scenes reflections from our guests. Just head to relatablewisdom.com/join. That is relatablewisdom.com/join, or tap the link in the show notes. And hey, subscribing to the podcast helps more than you think, and it's free. So if you haven't already, hit that follow button wherever you're listening. All right, let's get back to the conversation.
But there's a follow-up to that, because if the answer is no, it means that there's something rocking and rolling around your head that you need to figure out. Why wasn't this a yes for me? What got in the way of this being something that I felt more certain about? So I really believe that the if you have a look at content today, if you have a look at, what's going on in the information revolution, it's so focused on having answers. But something that I've realized is that it is so much more powerful for you to be very, very good at questions. Because if armed with the right questions, you won't ever be wanting, for answers.
Yeah, and this is particularly true in an age where information is really, really accessible. Now the question it's now, I think the way there's ChatGPT, AI, and LLMs and all these things out there, the world is for the taking for those who know how to ask the right questions.
It sounds like it's so simple, right? Oh, ask yourself the right questions. World is yours. But that is so difficult. I'll give you a practical example. So I work with clients, and we work very closely with them in rolling out social media ads, Facebook ads. And I hear all the time, my Facebook ads aren't working. And so as soon as they say that, the question that they're not asking is, what do I need to get better at so that I can get more out of my ad spend? It's more a case of, there's nothing I can do because this thing isn't working and now there's no solution. So if you have a look at what's behind my ads aren't working, and you really dig into the figures and the fact, 9 out of 10 times, what you'll find is that, first of all, their return on ad spend is rock solid. So where they're pulling that the ads aren't working, it just doesn't make sense because the return on ad spend is strong enough. The second thing is that they can be really, really bad at sales. So what I will hear is that I'm not getting any qualified leads. They're all terrible leads. They can't afford it. But if you suck at sales, it means that people are going to say no because they don't trust you, they don't like you, they don't believe you, they don't feel that you can solve their problem.
Yeah,
You know,
and I mean,
there's
in it, okay, I think that's where the next part comes in because sometimes it might not be that the ad is not even working in the first place. Sometimes it could be that you're spending too low to even see the ads to start working. Let's say you're spending $10 per day, or let's just say $10 per day. Maybe that $10 is not even enough for you for the ads to even start testing and seeing stuff for even to start working. Maybe you need to spend a minimum of $100 per day before your ads start working, or maybe it's not even the okay. Let's say I give an example. Let's say you're doing code email, and you say you maybe do one code email every day, and in the month 30 code email, and I'm like, that's too small. You're supposed to be doing at least 100 a day, before you even start saying, okay, code email
absolutely.
works or not.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's not
Absolutely.
the
Yeah.
thing itself, it's more like the volume we're doing is not even enough to know if it works or not.
Well, I think what makes it even worse is that when you come to a conclusion that is absolute rubbish because you didn't dig into what was really going on. So you make an assumption and you make as though that assumption is reality, but as soon as you stop asking the questions, you stop learning. You stop growing
Yeah,
because you assume that you know why. So what will happen with clients like this, if they don't challenge how they're thinking about it, they're just going to
yeah,
jump from agency to agency and everyone is just going to suck and they're just going to think, well, you know what, agencies are awful.
yeah. Yeah, that's true. And sometimes even we still have to even keep challenging the questions we're asking in the first place. And you say, "Oh, are you sure? Is it because the ads are not working, or is it something else?"
Oh, lovely. That is so lovely. Like, if you think of kids up until the age of 4, they ask about 300 questions a day. 300 questions. Now, if you think about that, there's a direct link between creativity and your learning potential. So, yeah, when we stop asking questions, it's just all the bad stuff happens. So, we need to be like kids, right?
Yeah, yeah. Like I mean, I think people don't want to feel stupid.
Do you think that that would prevent people from wanting to ask questions? Is that they're afraid that they're going to come across as stupid?
I no. I think feelings, being afraid of feeling stupid. That's if you have that problem. That's in a way that's a good problem, because the worst problem is assuming, feeling you already know it all, and so not even bothering to ask questions. Sometimes we have questions in our mind,
Yes,
like,
yeah.
okay, I'm not going to ask this question because people are going to laugh at me. That's a different case. But there are people, they never even have the question in their heart, and it's not like they know it, but they feel like they know it, and they don't even have the, how do I explain? They don't even question anything.
Yeah. Yeah. They don't challenge their own assumptions. So they say 1 + 1 = 11, and that's the reality for them. And I mean, that's fine. I can't knock that. I do that in areas of, we all do that in areas of our life where we take bits of information and we come to assumptions that are completely wrong. I mean, a stupid example, podcasting guesting is new for me. It's something that I've just started, and I've done a lot of them. But when I first started out, the first one, when I got offered, I was like, oh my God, that was so terrible. I need to go and take like major calming drugs, because how am I ever going to live down the shame of how bad it was? I mean, 2 days later, I went back and I watched it again, and I thought, well, do you know what? That actually wasn't so awful.
Yeah.
So yeah, we
This,
all do it. We all make assumptions.
this is the curious me asking, how many episodes have you podcast guests on so far?
This is my fifth.
Fifth? Third? I didn't get what you said. Fifth?
Number 5.
Wow.
Yeah, that's right.
The last guest I interviewed, she told me it was her fourth, and I was like, I was fighting with her, fighting in quotes, that why I wish I was her first. Then I would have been proud to say that, wow, that was the first, And she was like, she was trying to console me that, well, I can manage the fourth spot. I then asked her that, do you remember the fourth man to go to the moon? And she was like, no. And I was like, exactly.
That's sad.
Okay, I'll console myself. I'm the first Nigerian podcaster you've been featured on, so I'll hold that one.
It doesn't matter so much, right? When I decided that this was what I was going to do, I went into it with a mindset of, I want to develop my own skills. I want to reach more people with just simple, practical things that they can do to get ahead in very specific areas of their life. So for me, it's not so much about I don't know, the numbers. How many have I been on, and what's going on in that space? I'm really just enjoying it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just curious. I like numbers, so I love to
That's
to know the numbers behind the stuff. So that's just me asking. This has nothing to
fantastic.
do with the topic of the discussion.
Well, I tell you, if you love numbers, one of the super practical tips that you can actually use when you've either made an assumption or you have a question, and it's so simple, it's just the 5 whys. And with that, when you have a question, you take your response through 5 levels of whys. Let's think of any problem that you need to solve. Do you have an example?
What problem do I need to solve? Now that you ask the question, it seems that all the problems in my life just disappeared. Wow.
That's exactly what happens. So if you were faced with a problem that you wanted to hit 100 podcast episodes, how about we just take that one? We'll take something simple. So you have this goal that you want to achieve on getting 500 guests. And let's say that starts either becoming difficult, or you want to kind of understand what's behind that as a goal for yourself. So the first one, you'd first say, okay, so why? Why do you want to get 500? And that kind of forces you to think, well, I think 500 is a very good number, because I see most people stop doing it when they hit like 270. I really want to make sure that I'm double that, so that I'm in the safe zone. Okay, so why is being in the safe zone so important to you? And as you ask why, so you get deeper and deeper until you actually get to the root cause of a thing. And yeah, it's an incredibly powerful tool that you can just use every day.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, where I find the application of these 5 levels of why is that sometimes the problem we're solving is not the problem we ought to be solving. I'll give an example. Okay, which example do I? Where did this example just go all of a sudden? Okay, let's say you wanted to start creating content, and you're like, well, I need to buy. Let's say I need to buy a Canon camera of maybe $2,000-$3,000 or so. Then you ask yourself, why do I need to buy the camera of $3,000? Wait, you're like, okay, I need $3,000 to buy a camera. You're like, why do I need this $3,000 to buy a camera? Okay, because I need a camera. Okay. If I need a camera, why do I need a camera? So I can film my stuff. Oh, then it then leads to the question: do I need to buy a camera, or can I just use my phone? I'm like, okay, yeah. So it's just to film the stuff. Okay, I can basically use my phone. Yeah, and usually you realize that okay, the problem you're solving is not necessarily that problem, because sometimes we don't even understand our problem well enough to be able to say, okay, we can solve it this way or that way. We're just like, okay, this is how we have to do it because everybody did it this way, and that's itself. It's not good.
Well, if you look at that as globally, we rarely value answers, right? You have to have the answer straight away. I think I saw a quote where you can tell whether a person is clever by his answers, but you can tell if a person is wise by his questions. I love that.
Yeah. I think another quote I saw is the great masters, they know how to ask the right questions. Why beginners they have the answer, something like that.
Yes. Yeah, I love this. I could talk about questions all day.
Wow. I think is there a feed for like questions? We could call it the questionology.
Well,
Yeah.
it's so funny because I literally have a book on just on questions.
You have a book on questions?
So I do. It's by Dorothy Strachan. Sorry, I'm just trying. It's called Making Questions Work, and she actually groups questions into these are good questions when you're working with a group and you need to get them to brainstorm or be creative. These are the kind of questions that you need to ask in a group when you need them to summarize their progress or to start kind of evaluating where they are in the process. So she literally has built out very powerful questions that have specific application depending on what it is that you're trying to achieve. Now, I mean, if you think of the concept or the massively over used topic of leadership, can you imagine the application of just being that good at questions in your team? So, you want to be a better leader? Ask better questions. You want to be a better business owner? Ask better questions. You want to be a better father or play a stronger role in the community? Ask better questions. And I really do believe that the quality of your life is determined by, it's not by your thoughts, it really is by the questions that you ask.
Yeah. When you talk about asking better questions, there's a particular movie scene that's just playing in my head, and it's that of Steve Jobs, one of his biopic, and he was speaking to a member of the design team. I think there was a project the designer worked on, and he looked at the designer and he said, I want you to be honest with me. What do you think about this design? Right? And the designer looked at the design and said, this stuff is trash.
Wow.
Like he was the one who designed the stuff, and he looked at it and he's like, this is not up to my standard. And he was like, and Steve Jobs was like, exactly, go work on it and make it better. And for me, when you talk about asking the right questions, for some reason or the other, we have the answers in us, but sometimes we just need someone to guide us with the right questions to find those answers.
And sometimes we can be that person for ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes you can be so isolated, you can be cut off from the kind of connections that will allow you to dig into the deeper stuff. And being able to fill that space for yourself, I think, is an incredible gift, for you, for anybody.
Yeah. I'm feeling like
I mean, imagine.
I'm feeling like we should change this episode from that quote we started earlier on to asking the right questions.
Yep. Well, you're the boss. You can change it to anything you want.
Yeah. Because, okay, as a follow-up question to that quote you shared earlier on, a lot of people will have some misinterpretation of what you just said and say, okay, so anytime I'm not unsure of something, are you saying that I should say no or not do that thing? Is that what you're saying? What would be your response to that?
Well, thank you very much for clarifying. So, first of all, thanks for asking a question to clarify whether you got it right. Like, well done. That's a really good question. And yes, if you're asking the question, you must say no, even if it's no for now.
Yeah.
It can be no for now until you know why it's not a yes.
Yeah. I think you wrote it's quite different from what you shared now. What you wrote, you added something like if you have to ask yourself, the answer is no until That was what you wrote.
The answer is always no for
Until,
now, or until you know why it's not a yes.
exactly, until, yeah. And I think it was until, and then there was something like ellipsis, and so I was like, okay, until what? And then so okay, so until you know what next,
Mhm.
Wow, this is such a learning moment, Wow.
Well, as long as it's practical, right? Because I don't support random learning. I don't think that we must just jump onto YouTube and research just about everything under the sun, and because we have become almost addicted to knowing stuff. But the problem that I see, and the reason why I'm employed probably, is because people aren't able to apply what they learn. Now, if you're not going to take meaningful action based on something that stands out for you, just knowing that isn't going to do anything for you. Just having it in your head doesn't change anything. It's about, what are you going to do with it? What is the one step that you can take so that you can go on a different path because you're doing something different?
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Now,
why I'm here today, is because that was the message that you shared right in the beginning when you were explaining what the podcast was about and what it is that you wanted to achieve. And that really stood out for me because I think it's important.
talking about before the interruption.
Just that
Yeah.
learning without action is useless. It has absolutely no value. You can learn the secret to life, the secret to success. That's not going to make you successful. It's not going to make you happy. What's going to make you successful, what's going to make you happy, is actually doing something based on what
Oh,
you've learned. Do you know what? Better not to talk long, because people's brains get fried. So rather short, sweet,
yeah.
bites of
But I
insight.
feel
I
that
think that's
if you're saying
really the
something
best way
really
to go.
interesting, people
I
will
think you've got
listen.
it
Like
right.
I know that I listen to stuff that 2 hours, 3 hours long. If the stuff is really interesting, if it's not, nah. Even if it's 5 minutes, I'm not interested.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, are you not listening to something for 3 hours because your internet is so bad that it takes 3
Yeah.
hours to play a 30-minute clip?
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I
like,
got you.
except the stuff is really important. If the internet is that bad, I move on to do something else. I'm not gonna sit down and wait for for 3 hours. Wow. Okay. Thank you. What do you do, and where can listeners learn
Yeah.
more and connect?
Yeah.
Your call to action.
Absolutely. So what I've done up until this point is I've just shared a link and I give freebies. So when I'm hosting on, or when I'm a guest on any podcast, I give all of the listeners a 30-minute strategy session. So it's a one-on-one call with me to help get clear on what's important to them, kind of unbundle all of their thinking, just get some insight, wisdom, and focus for moving more confidently into the future. And they can also they can look up Brand Lab Media. That is the media company that I'm with, and otherwise find me on LinkedIn. I'm always opening to networking. I'm always opening
What's
to
the name on
speaking
LinkedIn?
to people. So, I'll never just not respond. It's my name, Tracey Sundkvist.
Yeah, of course. Please do. Okay. Just saying that. Thank you
Yes.
so much for coming on the podcast. I really, wow, the energy is just. I feel like I could keep talking to you for hours and not get bored.
Oh, that is huge
Hmm.
praise. So yeah, my ego
Hmm.
is just like 10 times bigger
Let
now.
me allow
Thank
you
you. Thank
bask
you
in
for
your
that.
glory. You've been listening to Relatable Wisdom, and I've been your host, Wisdom Okonkwo. You've been listening to the podcast where every story, quote, and insight helps you see life a little differently. If you enjoyed today's episode, follow the show on your favorite podcast app and share it with someone who loved the conversation. For more inspiring voices and timeless wisdom, visit relatablewisdom.com. Until next time, keep living, learning, and collecting wisdom that matters most to you.